Hello, my name is TildaKorolyArt and welcome back to another YouTube video. Today is the 31st of October, which means it's Halloween, and because of that I decided I wanted to draw something special. Like most people, I thought about vampires, zombies, werewolves, and witches. I've been very obsessed with the Harry Potter movies recently, so I thought why not draw the Golden Trio? So that's what I did. First, I began by sketching out Hermione Granger. Like I've mentioned in my other videos, I'm still trying to figure out my own art style, so this is what I'm working with right now. I've always been in love with the use of shapes in character design, so that's something I've been trying to improve. To use shapes to bring out the most interesting parts of a character. I've now blocked out the colors underneath the sketch before merging the sketch layer with the color layer, turning them into one. Some of you might be asking, why are you merging your layers? Aren't you drawing on only one layer then? And to answer that, yes, yes I am. And I'll tell you why. So there's this amazing artist on Instagram called Jackie Drojko. I'm sorry if I butchered that name. And she works as a character designer at Netflix. I'm also following her on TikTok, where she also gives out some art tips. One of these art tips was to merge all of your layers and then continue to paint over it, which makes your drawing look more dynamic and not as stiff. This is a great tip. For those who haven't tried it, I really recommend it. Because sometimes when you draw line art and then color underneath it, it can look a bit stiff and boring, and you always think that your sketch looked more dynamic. Why isn't your finished piece with line art looking as dynamic? And I have found that using this tip can really help in that sense, so it doesn't look as stiff even though there's still line art. So give it a try and tell me what you think. It really works for me, and it also saves a lot of space on my iPad, which is a bonus. If you haven't seen her art, definitely go check her out and give her a follow. She is amazing. And if any of you have any art tips or artists you like, I'd love if you could share them in the comments. I'm also curious, do any of you who watch my videos like to draw as well? What do you do? Is it something you'd like to work with in the future? Personally, I'd love to work in character design. I've just always found it so interesting how using certain shapes and colors and clothing can tell you so much about who the character is. Do they wear a lot of warm clothes? Perhaps they live somewhere really cold. Or do they have a wand? Perhaps a witch or a wizard. Do they wear a lot of black or maybe pastels? You get what I mean. Those things could make the biggest difference in a character design, and that's exactly why it intrigues me so much. But wait a second, Tilda, you didn't mention anything about shapes. Well, I'll give you some examples. Shapes can be used in many different ways. To add interesting elements to your drawing, or to say something about the character themselves. It can even be used to signify your art style. For example, there are 3 major shapes that's used in character design: a circle, a square, and a triangle. A circle is obviously round, right? Has no sharp edges, which can be translated into a character who's soft and kind and caring. Very often used for either parents or grandparents, like the Sultan from Aladdin, Or Belle's father in Beauty and the Beast. This is obviously not only used for parental figures. Another example is Baymax from Big Hero 6. Point is, circles are very often used for characters who are more caring and kind and nurturing. I mean, Baymax is literally a, quote, robotic nurse. And for those who don't know, it's a quote from Hiro Hamada, the main character in the movie Big Hero 6. Moving on. Now I've sketched up Harry and Ron. Also for reference, I haven't read the books, so I'm not using the book versions, but instead the movie versions of the characters as my reference for this drawing. But I have heard a lot about Harry's eyes being green and not blue, which is why I'm going to give him green eyes instead. So, a square is very sturdy, a very sturdy shape. Doesn't matter what side it's on, it's always sturdy. This is a shape that's used very often in characters who are very grounded. Sometimes maybe stern, strong, and even orderly. Like heroic characters. For example, Bob or Mr. Incredible from The Incredibles. A very square character. Or Wasabi from Big Hero 6. To give an example of a non-human character, we got Anger from Inside Out. A triangle is most common in villains. It's pointy, which can indicate danger, aggression, or even speed. This shape does not have to be used on villainous characters only, but I wanted to point out that there is more common to use triangles instead of the other two shapes when it comes to creating villainous characters. Character example of this is Maleficent from Sleeping Beauty or Jafar from Aladdin. Then there are characters like Ursula from The Little Mermaid. She's a pretty round character for a villain, but instead they decided to give her very pointy features. Pointy eyebrows, pointy eyelids, and even pointy lips. And if you look closely, you can see that her nose and hair are shaped like triangles, so there are several ways to use these shapes. To also give an example of a triangle-shaped character that isn't a villain, we got Dash from The Incredibles. He's not made out of triangles only, but if you look at his hair, it's shaped like a triangle. And this can be tied to the fact that his superpower is speed. So for those of you who might be interested in character design, I definitely recommend trying this out. It's very, very fun. Anyhow, going back to the drawing, I have now finished Hermione and I'm once again coloring the boys, and I've done the exact same thing. I laid out the flats underneath the sketch layer, merged the layers, and now I'm painting above them. And it might not be very visible, but I did draw Harry's lightning scar on his forehead. It's just a little bit hidden underneath his hair. I mean, in the movies, he wasn't really ever showing his scar unless he moved his hair out of the way. But because I wanted to be ridiculously obvious with who it is I'm drawing, I felt it necessary to add the scar, even if it isn't fully visible. Just a small detail I didn't want to leave out, since it's such an important part of his character. For those of you who are watching, do you have a favorite Harry Potter movie or book? In that case, which one and why? I personally love the fourth movie, The Goblet of Fire. I'm such a sucker for the Weasley twins. Always have been, always will be. And I just love them in that movie. Or I love them in every movie. But there's also the Yule Ball, so I mean, duh. Also, I'm a Gryffindor. What are your houses? And now I'm just getting into the details of the drawing, cleaning it up, adding freckles, and so on. Just small changes, so it's not that visible. Anyway, this is the finished result. What do you think? Does it look like the golden trio? We've now reached the end of this video. I really hope you liked it. If you want, feel free to follow me on my Instagram and Twitter at TildaKorolyArt, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button and leave a like if you like this video. And click the notification bell so you won't miss when I upload. Thanks again for watching, and I wish you all a happy Halloween. Goodbye!